The Arab Parliament condemns with the strongest terms Houthi rebels' terrorist attack on Al Anad airbase. The joint forces destroyed different Houthi positions in Hodeidah. Yemeni women pay the cost of the war as they have limited access to health care. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shaza Abdelbey. The Arab Parliament condemned Houthi terrorist attack on Al Anad airbase in Lahj to the south of Yemen. The Arab Parliament warned in a statement that Houthi rebels' terrorist attacks have doubled in the country, adding decisions to be taken to stop these terrorist attacks that threaten not only the security in Yemen, but the region and the entire world. The Arab Parliament accused Houthi rebels of taking full responsibility for blocking all peace efforts to resolve the conflict in Yemen. In the same context, the number of victims due to the Houthi attack on Al Anad airbase has risen to 42 killed and more than 60 injured. The Houthi rebels carried out several attacks yesterday morning using drones missiles on Al Anad military base. The attack targeted a military morning exercise and a number of hangars for soldiers. Amid the ongoing war in Yemen, many are suffering. The Yemeni women, however, seem to bear a great share in this regard. Already burdened with traditional diseases and social bonds, the spread of COVID-19 epidemic has added to their troubles. This report sheds light on the medical challenges Yemeni women face during the war.
Women's access to health care in Yemen is generally more limited than it is for men, and recent reports indicate that the situation is worsening. Women often arrive at health facilities with life-threatening complications, including obstructed or prolonged labor, too late for any positive outcome. This is caused by an overall lack of finances, the expensive cost of medical care, and operation fuel shortage leading to increased transportation costs, physical barriers such as closed or destroyed roads, and the priority of other necessities over women's health because of their standing in the family and in society. Delays in seeking health care put women at risk of complications and other adverse health consequences. In the case of complications in pregnancy and childbirth, the risks are not limited to women. They extend to their babies, who might be born with a weak immune system or other conditions impacting their health and well-being. This will have financial implications on the family. Falling behind in access to healthcare is not exclusive to mental health. Anecdotal observations indicate that there are far fewer women getting COVID-19 vaccinations than men. Reasons include timing and the availability of vaccination centers. The centers are only open for 3 or 4 hours a day because of high temperatures and electricity shortages. This leads to long queues and waiting times, making the process more difficult for women unaccustomed to spending long periods outside the home. Women's vaccinations areas are also underused. Because of this, the resources supposedly dedicated to women are being used to vaccinate men. While this is a practical solution to the increasing numbers of men arriving with vaccinations to work in Yemen, it causes concern for women who do turn up to be vaccinated. Overall, the number of vaccinated people in Yemen is extremely low. Being the primary caregivers at the household level, women are likely to be the most exposed to the virus if it penetrates a household and the most likely to spread within it. The absence of the caregiving role provided by women, as in the event of a death or illness, is felt acutely.
Joint forces in the western coast of Yemen destroyed Houthi targets that violated ceasefire. Military media of the joint forces said that the extensive movement of Houthi rebels was spotted near the front lines in Hais, Al-Tuhayta and Al-Durayhimi. It was reported that the joint forces targeted those movements and fired direct shots in their locations and hideouts, causing casualties among them. Masan Project for Mine Clearing announced the mining of 6,238 mines and explosive devices in August. According to the project, the clearing operation included 2,758 anti-tank mines, 80 anti-personnel mines, and 4 explosive devices, and 3,396 explosive devices. Masan outlined the project cleared around 1,000 square kilometers in August. With this, the total number of mines cleared by the project so far reaches more than 200,071. TUTAS, the Association of Mothers of Those Kidnapped and Forcibly Disappeared, railed in front of the local authority headquarters. The rally coincidence with the International Day of Enforced Disappearance. Those mothers accused Houthi rebels of being responsible for the lives of those detained in their prisons. The association documented 152 cases of enforced disappearance, including 104 cases inside Houthi detention centers. The Mother Association called on the international community to disclose the destiny of those cases and hold those who have committed such crimes accountable. Internally displaced people have been the victims of this raging war. Their livelihoods are disturbed and their lives as a whole are shattered. The following report has more on the story of displaced people suffering.
Hundreds of thousands of internally displaced Yemenis are living in tragic conditions due to the Houthis' insistence on the military option rather than the political one to end the war and end the suffering of Yemenis. According to international reports, shelter needs are increasing for newly displaced Yemenis across Ma'rib. Since the beginning of the year, close to 24,000 people have been uprooted by armed clashes, shelling, and airstrikes in Ma'rib, a region that is already hosting a quarter of Yemen's 4 million internally displaced people. UNHCR, the High Commissioner for Refugees, spoke of an alarming increase in the humanitarian needs of these displaced people, estimated at 1 million, with more forced to flee under the pressure of the military escalation, where they searched for safety in urban centers and in about 150 informal camps. And the assessment of humanitarian needs showed that the conditions in those camps are deplorable and that they have exceeded their capacity as they host nearly 190,000 people. A recent UNHCR assessment indicates living conditions in settlements remain dreadful, with shelter kits, clean water, latrines, electricity, and health facilities in short supply. As women and children constitute 80% of those displaced, they are the ones who suffer most from the overcrowding, lack of privacy, and limited access to basic services. UNHCR, with the assistance of SHS, have provided basic household items, legal assistance, and psychological support across 7 settlements in Ma'rib, which hosts 20,000 individuals, also provided cash for rent to over 2,800 families as part of the cash-based interventions to assist 6,000 families at risk of eviction. Nevertheless, thousands of displaced Yemeni families are currently facing the threat of eviction, where during the last week, authorities in Ma'rib shared a list of 2,800 families at risk of eviction from 13 IDP hosting sites on privately owned land, for which a relocation solution is urgently needed. Relief organizations were only able to reach 21% of the population, due to the vicinity of those camps to the front lines, and because of the Houthi military escalation in Ma'rib, 9 out of 10 camps were built on private lands so families can be safe. Yet, this increases the fears of eviction risks. Displaced families in Ma'rib keep suffering as they are deprived from their simplest rights to live a human life. Will misery continue to haunt them for the rest of their lives? Only time can tell.
Coming next, Houthi continue depleting education and poisoning the minds of Yemeni children.
ثالث جديد على منطقة الروضة، استهدف الأطفال الأبرياء اللي يلعبوا في الشارع، بيدعي للسلام يقولوا للسلام يقتل أطفالنا، يقتل أطفالنا الأبرياء.
أنا قلت استجعت ولا قلنا يقع واحد صاروخ ثاني، طلعت البيت حقنا. عشان ألعب أنا وأصحابي والصاروخ الطرح.
Welcome back. Education is the mainstay of any country that looks for a better future. In Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen, the matter is different. The acts of injecting their deadly ideology have transcended all space and time. More on the story is in this report.
It is a real pain for all who work in education in Yemen, parents, students, and teachers. Houthi rebels not only poison the educational content with their mentality, but also make it harder for all to get or give education. With the early start of the new school year, the matter aggravated. Along with zero facilities to run education in Yemen, there are no books to be taught. To get one, you as a parent or a student have to go to the black market, in which books are sold in a higher price. In a similar way, other goods in Yemen are bought. Sources in Houthi-controlled areas said that thousands of students in the capital Sana'a didn't receive their copies of the school books. These same books, according to the sources, are there in a black market that is run by Houthi tycoons in return for financial gains. The parents, who are confronted with many economic hurdles, find it hard to balance between the future of their children and the basic necessities of their life. The combined and unmounted pressures on the parents may drive them to deprive their sons and daughters of the right to education. Education in Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen is passing through a very critical moment, a moment in which there are not enough classes, there are no school books, the schools may even be turned into military barracks, and there is no money to be switched to education. The pressure on the government-run schools is increasing too, after the private schools raised their fees by nearly 35% compared to last year. As to the educational content, Houthis, according to educational sources, stuffed it with materials that serve their mindset. The time now is critical, and there must be an action to get Yemen from this Houthi paradox that will return the country back to the Middle Ages.
The General Electricity Corporation requested in Aden the government to quickly provide fuel for generation stations, warning that those stations could go out of service due to fuel shortage. The corporation stated that the remaining quantities of fuel can last for only 2 days, and this can lead to prolonged power cuts in the city. The corporation requested further the need to provide enough quantities of fuel till the arrival of the fourth Saudi donations. Eventually, the corporation expressed their sincere apology to the citizens for the prolonged power cuts due to the fuel shortage. The economic situation in Yemen is nearly out of control. The responsible organs of the government cannot handle the collapse of the local currency and the inflation in which return has added to the trouble of common people. The soaring prices are extra block for many Yemenis who wish for a better life. This report has more on economic hardship of Yemeni people during the war.
Rising prices continue to make food increasingly unaffordable for many households in Yemen. People are suffering from rising food prices, particularly in Houthi-controlled areas, which makes it hard for citizens in Yemen to have average access to income. The Yemeni economy continues to be impacted by shortages of foreign currency due to protracted conflict and political instability. The local currency has continued to drop in Houthi-controlled areas despite regulations issued by the Central Bank of Yemen in Aden, with the parallel market exchange rate reaching a new record. The Yemeni currency reached its lowest level ever against the dollar in the exchange market transactions. The decline also came despite the strict measures and restrictions imposed by the Central Bank of Yemen on the foreign exchange sector to put an end to the continuous sharp deterioration in the deteriorating local currency. However, these efforts and measures did not positively bear the improvement of the value of the local currency against foreign currencies, according to observers and economists. The prices are increasing on a daily basis, and the Yemeni society keeps suffering from all difficulties in different fields. How can a normal human being live when they cannot afford the normal life necessities?
The National Committee Against Coronavirus announced the registration of 45 new cases of the epidemic in 5 governorates. Committee officials said on Twitter that 19 cases were recorded in Hadramaut, 15 in Aden, 8 in Ma'rib, and 1 in Taz. Also, 8 deaths were recorded, 6 in Hadramaut, 1 in Shabwa, 1 in Lahj, plus 16 recoveries in Aden and Hadramaut. With the current updates, the total confirmed cases are 7,829, including 1,469 deaths and 4,813 cases of recovery. Here's a reminder of the main headlines. The Arab Parliament condemns with the strongest terms Houthi rebels' terrorist attack on Al-Anad airbase. The joint forces destroyed different Houthi positions in Hudaydah. Yemeni women pay the cost of the war as they have limited access to health care. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.